minute. Who are you?
What's going on, everybody? It's Evan Money back with JC the Blind Jedi.
Hey, everybody.
So we are here to give you our UFC 258 review. I know that there was not a prediction video this week before leading up to the fight. Not a good week for me personally. Also, the weather here in Kansas City has been horrible.
It has really been bad. It's affecting us. We're having frozen pipes, that type of thing, as well as the family situations are just in a kind of a flux type of personal thing. So we're doing our best to take care of that. But we are coming back to you with a 258 review. I want to give a big shout out to my boys Joe from TCU, the Horned Frog guy. Also John Paul over there with his beautiful family, and Tyler training out there in I believe it's Blue Springs. Is that out there? Yeah, that's the other side of Missouri. So anyway, shout out to my boys out there, and let's get into this with the first fight.
Was Maki Pitolo versus Julian Marquez. Wow,
that was okay. So first off, Julian Marquez is a local fighter from here in Kansas City. He does train with my son over at Glory MMA up in North Kansas City. Now, aside from that, what a fight.
Pitolo came out immediately aggressive, got in Julian's face. Almost kind of one of those moments where if you blink, you missed how quickly he rushed over. And I think you could definitely tell that it threw Julian off just a little bit. I mean, he said it didn't, but it definitely appeared that way.
I think it really affected him a lot more because, to be totally honest, Maki Pitolo had this fight won 3 minutes into the third round.
2.5 rounds were all
Two-and-a-half rounds were all Makis. It was not that that Marquez was not having hits and not getting he's about a half a dozen guillotine attempts in that.
Yeah, definitely. The issue I think was and first let's get this. Julian did come back in the third and won with an anaconda choke, which was amazing. And how he set it up was beautiful with his striking.
Yes, he just in the third round he brought the heat.
You could tell he was the stronger fighter, the heavier hands. But the problem that you saw in the first 2 rounds was a little bit of almost like childlike excitement of like, oh, I've got an opening.
Yeah,
it caused him to slip and caused him to lose position.
He was constantly losing position. I mean, he would hit Pitolo, and Pitolo would drop down, and go for that double leg to try and save himself. And you could tell that he was, okay, I've got him, and he'd go for a choke, he'd go for a guillotine, and he'd pull on it and fall down onto his back and lose total position for the whole time. And that happened for like 2.5 rounds. He kept on doing that.
There was a couple of guillotine attempts where he tried to do a single arm guillotine, which obviously is a lot more difficult, but you could clearly tell that it was more of a neck crank. It wasn't a guillotine attempt. And Pitolo definitely didn't appear to be in any kind of danger and didn't even really seem worried about it. He was getting like I said, 2.5 rounds, he was getting the better of the exchanges.
The exchanges and the groundwork.
Absolutely.
Marquez was totally on the defensive this entire, I mean, he literally, both rounds. And then his coach,
James Krause came out. Potty mouth Krause, because boy was there a lot.
There was a lot of F-bombs out in that exchange about getting out there and finishing this fight, and he took it to heart. And you could hear it. Yes sir, yes sir, yes sir. And he went out and he did exactly what Krause told him to do.
Absolutely. It was an amazing fight. I think Julian's been off for a little while.
What did he say? 31 months.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like he said, in his post-fight interview with Joe, he said, he came out and felt a little flat. It was noticeable. He said he doesn't believe in ring rust, but there's nothing like actually getting in there and fighting. And we've seen that multiple times where you can't condition yourself, train for a fight without actually being into fights.
There it was.
I mean, as far as moving forward, I don't know.
Because they're both unranked,
yeah,
right?
they're both unranked.
So
I don't know. You know, Patola's been having a hard time kind of finishing things when he has had the upper hand in most of his fights.
okay.
You know, the top 15 right now in the middleweight division is pretty thick.
Yeah.
To get, I mean, we're about to see number 15 fight, you know, later on. So, again, the middleweight division is kind of loaded.
Yeah.
So,
It really is. Take your time.
But this was a good showing. I think you kind of put some more stuff together, get a couple of more wins under your belt, and then maybe shoot for somebody in the top 15.
Yeah, I mean, this is your first fight back. Obviously, this was not your best performance from Marquez. Obviously, another fight, and then July, August.
Yeah.
By July or August, after another fight or two, maybe then you're looking at hitting somebody for the top 15. Patolo, you made all the right moves, but against somebody who was supposed to beat you.
The frustration for Patola's camp, though, his head coach, as soon as he tapped, slammed his hands on the mat and walked away from the octagon and started walking back towards the locker rooms. He did come back out to support his fighter, but I mean, that just tells you. I mean, this game it means a lot to a lot of people, and these guys put in a lot of time and effort. And when somebody invests that much time and effort and hard work and dedication,
you see that you had that I mean, you had the good side of the paycheck in, and he lost it.
He had it. All he had to do was keep his distance, and he literally could have fifth round John Jones ran and still been fine. Yeah. He still could have been fine. That would have been it. But congratulations, Marquez. Congratulations, Kansas City. And on to the next fight. Kelleher versus Ricky Simone. Or the other way around. But, real quickly, this was a nice, interesting fight. The smaller weights, this was at 145. But it was at 145, but both guys have fought at 135.
Okay. There was this thing that Joe was talking about not having to make a weight cut, and both of the guys came in pretty fresh.
Yeah. Simone especially came in right out the gate. Again, another fight coming in where out the gate hot.
Yeah.
Simone came in, got on top of him, dropped a hammer fist, and immediately busted Kelleher open.
Oh yeah. He had blood in the front of his face the entire match.
Immediately, Kelleher, you could tell, was not happy about it. I mean, nobody obviously would be, but he specifically was up against the fence, and you could see he was just.
Oh yeah, he had the face
pouring into his eye.
He just looked pissed the entire time in that first round. Simone, to their credit, man, both these guys are fast, but Simone, man, he had these excellent jab and change levels and put it into a takedown, and man, he must have gotten like 3 or 4 takedowns in that match.
Yeah,
and just top control and beating them. And it wasn't that Kelleher was doing bad; they would have some good exchanges. In fact, Kelleher has these beautiful front leg kicks that kept on snapping Ricky Simone's head back,
right up the middle, beautiful.
I mean, but Simone, every time Kelleher, got within range, Simone was wrestling him down to the ground.
Yeah, and he was
good old-fashioned American wrestling.
Quick as you could imagine. I mean,
bam, and down on the ground.
Speedy Gonzalez, quick.
Yes,
because it was. I mean, it almost every time he changed levels, it looked like Kelleher was just like, oh, we're doing a training video on how to do a perfect takedown.
Yes, it was. Every time.
Everything looked staged. That's how fast Simone was moving. And of course, I mean, he won every single round, obviously, because he was the one dominating.
Yeah.
If you look at the two, Kelleher's got a nice big gash right on his eye. Simone looks like he maybe had a workout and was like, Yeah, I just ran 4 miles, and then I came out of the sauna, and I came over here to have an interview.
Yeah. He really looked. The pace was incredible, and Simone's pace was just, he really showed the octagon control, the aggression, and the ground control. They were both popping each other in the face. But Simone, he was getting the takedowns. He was getting the ground control. He was literally the one who was winning this fight, and it was a unanimous decision.
30-27 by all judges.
And
so
Kelleher knew it, and he congratulated him. So
I mean, for Simone, we had kind of talked about, just previously with Julian Marquez, like, you're both unranked. This situation is a little bit different, though, because this was one of those fights where both guys were on their way up, and definitely a top 15 fight is coming for Simone after this, I feel like.
I feel like it is, too. I feel like it is, too, but I don't know. I mean,
which weight class, though, is what I'm more interested in, because he looked really great here at 145.
He did. He looked healthy, and both of them did, but especially Simone. I don't know if he would want to go up to 45, because I don't know if the weight cut is that bad, but because I mean, he looked good at 45, but there are a couple of bigger guys at 45.
Yeah,
there are some tall guys who will cut like 15, 20 pounds to fight at 45. That may be a little bit more of a problem for him,
especially in the top 5. Top 5 of the 145 division is basically a murderer's row of guys to try and get to the title.
Yeah.
But I mean, if he wants to stay at 145, I would like to see him up against like Bryce Mitchell. Maybe.
Okay. Yeah.
I think Mitchell's on an unbelievable run. Hasn't fought since October. I think that would be a good fight for Mitchell to kind of cement the fact that he should be in the top 15, and for Simone to maybe get a chance to crack into the top 15.
It'll be a good fight. It'll be a chance for Simone to see where he's at. He just had back-to-back fights. He's fought twice in 3 weeks, I believe, is what they said. So he's had 2 fights in 3 weeks. Congratulations to him. He needs some time off, and then after you've had some time and you're ready for another camp to start. That now it's time for the 15. Now it's time for a top 15 fight.
I mean, I'm looking at obviously if if he does decide to go back down to bantamweight, the bantamweight is not as muddled in the top 15, really.
Yeah, I mean, if he went to bantamweight, then there's a lot.
It would probably be a quicker path to a title shot.
Yes, it would. It would be a much quicker path.
But definitely, by quicker, I definitely mean a little bit easier. 145 when you look at the top 15, stacked.
Holloway's going to be back there.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for that. So, and once that happens, then great. But between him and the current champ, who I can't remember his name now. Volkanovski. Oh, that's why I don't remember it. Anyway, yeah. See, I mean, if you're going to get through one of those two guys, good luck for what Simone was. But at 35, he looks just as capable for Peter Yan or Aljamain Sterling. Yeah. Not fight wise ready, but he looks as
matchup wise looks better because I mean you have guys like Zabit, who I personally think is going to be the guy that pushes the featherweight division
to the next level. Okay, yeah, I can see that.
But you also have a guy like Brian Ortega, who's on the rise back through the ranks. He's going to be fighting Volkanovski next for the title.
I honestly see Brian Ortega as the Charles Oliveira of the group, just sitting there breaking limbs in the mid cards until all of a sudden, it's time for him to fight again.
Yeah. Plus, you still have a guy like Yair Rodriguez. You still have Calvin Kattar, who, although he got destroyed by Holloway, is a tough opponent for anybody. And then, of course, you still always have in my opinion, the king of the division in Max Holloway.
Yeah. I still say that he is the uncrowned champion. That second fight with Volkanovski was definitely stolen from Holloway. But regardless, good luck. congratulations to Simone. I honestly think that 35 is a better chance towards the belt than it is 45, but good luck to you. And
Okay, so the next fight was Calvin Gastelum versus Ian Heinisch. This was an interesting fight.
It really was. Calvin Gastelum has been on kind of a losing streak lately, and so he really came in, and I mean, he was ranked 9th.
Yeah.
Which is a far cry from where he was just 3 fights ago, fighting for the title with Izzy. But really, this fight was really about experience over youth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Gastelum was the grizzled veteran, and he showed it. Heinisch had some good shots. He had some good moments in there, but really, man, like the first round, he spent a lot of time trying to pull that Kimura out on his back.
A lot of time and a lot of energy, which definitely played a factor.
Because at that end of the first round, he was panting. I mean, like a dog panting in his corner.
Yeah.
And, Calvin Gastelum's just the wily veteran. It's like, okay, I got this kid. And even in the third round, Heinisch had a reverse and actually had Gastelum in trouble on his back and looked like he could pull a rear naked. And, nope, Gastelum knew what he was doing.
Gastelum definitely showed that his experience since he has come into the UFC all the way to now has really taken leaps and bounds.
A mature fighter.
Absolutely.
Somebody who has grown in the UFC. It's obvious to see that he's learned the basic skills, learned how to fight, and then he sees everything happening in there now. He's had wars. He knows what he's doing, and he looked like the veteran that he was.
He picks up the decision here, which was good, and all he said was that he'd be ready for anybody dropped out in Whitaker versus Costa, which I think is good. Him going up and getting another top 5 guy, I think would be great. I'd like to see him versus Uriah Hall again. That'd be interesting.
A rematch against him and Hall, huh?
Yeah.
For
the Ultimate Fighter
finale.
As far as Heinisch, this does damage him, but I mean, he was fighting way up above his rank. I don't know.
And Gastelum was fighting below his rank.
Yeah.
His rank was not significant of how he fights. So
I'd like to see Heinisch maybe go up against Tavares, Weidman, somebody a little bit closer in rank, see if he can maybe regain some of the momentum that he had.
Go beat up Weidman.
I would love that.
Yeah, so go ahead, please give Heinisch Weidman. We won't complain. We'll even pay money for that fight just to watch you beat him up. I might start a GoFundMe for your camp for that fight. Just saying. I don't like Chris Weidman. But So I guess now we're on to the co-main event. All right, Macy Barber versus Alexa Grasso, and wow, this was an interesting fight, to say the least. Macy Barber is young and coming off of a major injury. One we saw probably about 6 or 7 months ago.
A little longer than that.
Was it? It was at the beginning. It was before the pandemic. That's right. It was right before the pandemic. So,
let's just put it this way: if she had been a fighter, probably in their later years, it would have been it.
Yeah, that is true. That's what they're talking about. It's glad they happened at 23 and not 43.
The definite cause of the injury, you could see in the way Macy was fighting. There was definitely she was having a little bit of an issue with distance. Her kicks look a little off, like she was still not fully confident in her ability to land a kick.
Okay.
And it was just based off of how far she was missing, how much she was missing. Seemed like her timing was off a little bit.
There was a couple of times she was just throwing jabs and kicks into the air. So you can definitely see that her distance, her spacing, her timing was just a little bit off, and you could tell that, the knee, it's probably good, it's probably ready to go, but maybe she might be favoring it.
Yeah.
But it was a 29-28 fight towards Alexa Grasso. Now, to Macy's credit, she did well. Man, there was bombs left and right from both sides. And in the third round, Macy's like, you know what, I'm going to go out and put it on her. And she took that third round. But the first 2 rounds were really, really rough to judge.
Yeah, the first round, if you wanted to swing it either way, you could have made an argument easily.
Yeah, you could have.
Second round, I definitely feel I had second round more leaning toward Grasso.
Grasso did have, she had the better exchange of the striking.
Yeah.
And she was the one that pulled off all those, she was the one that was on the ground and then reversed position and had Macy in a behind choke and everything like that, and was threatening. And man, that's the story tonight. Is just, man, bad positioning, and man, somebody takes your back.
Yeah, I had made a joke while we were watching about it is not the night for the guillotine choke.
No, it is
everybody
not.
has gone for a guillotine has just lost position.
Yes.
No, I mean, again, coming into this fight, surprisingly, although Macy was ranked higher, she came in as the underdog. According to betting lines, which was definitely kind of weird.
Okay, yeah, I get it.
And again, like I said, I don't think that this loss hurts Macy as much. Really on the fact of she is young, she's coming off of a massive injury, and she looked really good.
Yeah.
When it was like, hey.
She still got punched in the face and she said, let's come on.
Get it together. Like, get it together. Come on. I do expect...
For her first fight back, this was good.
Yeah.
This was still a good show.
Yeah.
The coach comes, she goes back to the corner, and the coach tells her, hold your head up high. You got nothing to be ashamed about in this loss.
Yeah.
Alexa Grasso just had the timing and the speed for just a couple more rounds, but really... if you gave him a 5-round fight, I really think he would swing the other way.
Yeah, no. Had this gone another round, another 2 rounds, I know we don't have 4-round fights, but had it gone another 2 rounds, Macy would have definitely probably gotten the finish.
I think so too.
I think it would have gone 1 more round and Macy would have finished. With that being said, where each lady goes from here, I expect Macy to fall a little bit in the ranks. She did lose to number 15.
And 15 beat number 10, so...
But, again, she wasn't favored to win. So, I think everybody kind of felt like, oh, Grasso's going to come in and get this. If she does fall out of the top 10, it's not going to be by much. We've talked about it consistently. The women's division is, everybody outside of the champions is kind of rough to gauge.
Yes.
As far as Grasso, I think this does elevate her a little bit. Looking at the rankings, maybe going up against Jessica Roxanne Modafferi, who, Macy had the knee injury against.
Oh, yes, that's right.
And I don't know, maybe have Macy move down, get another chance. I mean, again, it's so hard to judge with the women's division.
It is, especially when they're so easy that they'll change a weight division at the drop of a hat. It's so hard to get. It's so hard to get.
Grasso was fighting at 115, moved up. Really, the 115, 125ers, they're interchangeable. They really are.
Yeah.
And it's rough, but the kingpins rule the 3 champions rule the divisions.
Yeah,
and it takes nothing away. I'm not trying to take anything away from any of the fighters that are coming up, or in the other that aren't the champions. But it is so difficult because all 3 women are so dominant.
They are. Man.
But you know, it was a great fight. The women are starting to become my favorite fights to watch because they really do go out there and leave it all out there. Definitely putting on more of a show of that. I'm not afraid to get knocked out. I'm not afraid to get hurt. Whereas some of the guys sometimes are like, "Oh no, hey, I don't want to do that."
Yeah, you can see that. You can see some of, especially some of the older fighters, the more cagey veterans. They know that they're fighting for that paycheck, and they're making sure that they're coming out of that paycheck being able to spend it.
Yeah.
Instead of getting that big commission check while they're still sitting in the hospital recovering from wounds.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, so that's that. Macy Barber, it shouldn't be too bad. Alexa Grasso move up 11,
Yeah.
12, 11 maybe, and we'll see where you go from there. And now it's into the title fight.
Yep. Main event time.
All right, here we go.
Kamaru Usman versus Gilbert Burns, and
Okay, first off, I'm wrong again. I wanted Burns in this one. I really thought that we were going to have something more that happened on the ground. I really thought that Burns was going to be able to stun Usman. Okay, so I'm wrong. Okay, so yeah. In the first round, Burns got a couple of good shots on Usman, stunned him a little bit, and it kind of grinded. But Usman was the consummate professional. He was getting popped. He was getting hit left and right, and there kind of was a scramble, and then for some odd reason, Burns ended up on the ground. And he stayed on the ground for too long, and Usman used the tried and true, and he was talking about it, the Cerrone style. If somebody's on the ground, you don't sit there and try to play footsie with them. You just kick their legs and their butt.
Yeah.
The whole time. And after a while, Burns was like, I need to get up. I'm getting hurt down here. And when he started to get up, and then by that time, Usman was able to turn the tides as far as the boxing and the ups. In the second round, it's Trevor Whitman.
Yep.
God.
Trevor Whitman's fingerprints was all over this fight for Usman. Usman, he stayed calm. He stayed collected.
Got a chin.
And
got a chin.
Jabs, jabs, jabs.
Just a quick piston all night long. That right jab.
Yeah.
Was just in Burns' face all the second round. The first round, you could give it to Burns, and we both did, I think.
Yeah, we did.
But the second round, definitely Usman took over. And in the third round, it wasn't more than a minute in.
Yeah.
And he finishes him.
And you know, honestly, the big thing about it was Usman getting the win here was something that I called before the fight started. Like I said, he's just on such a different level than everybody else. He's becoming what GSP was to the division. Except the difference is he's not showing any signs of what GSP turned into. I'm going to lay on you and just wear you out and point you out in 5 rounds of boringness.
So but there is a parallel here with Usman and GSP, but the bases are reversed.
Yeah.
GSP comes in with a kickboxing, a pure karate style and everything like that. I mean, he trained karate from a young age. And then when he realized, when he went up against his first wrestler and lost in Matt Hughes, and then he changed his total style. And he became that wrestler. He became that grinder. And while it wasn't as exciting, his later title defenses, he held that belt.
It was dominant. Dominance is what it was. Usman
here has that wrestling background.
Yeah.
That's what he came from.
And the beauty of it is the strikes were so amazing. It was a third round finish. Yeah,
the third round finish.
But it was only 36 seconds into the third, so pretty quick.
By the end of the second, Burns was already beat up.
Yeah, Burns was pretty done.
There was somewhere in the middle there that he caught Burns bad, and Burns was running.
He was out.
He was literally
Lights were on.
Nobody
was
home.
Yep. No, I mean, he landed, Usman set it up, landed a beautiful jab. Burns basically flat backed. And the first punch that Usman hit on Burns, Burns' head was coming up to try and kind of collect where he was. And all it did was met a punch from Usman that snapped his head back so aggressively.
Oh, man, it was brutal.
Hats off to Kamaru Usman. He says people don't put enough respect on his name. I have been putting respect on his name. The guy has been dominating for so long.
He was good. I did not see this much of an increase in the striking for me to believe in it. Not anymore. Now, if somebody says they're training with Trevor Whitman, great. That's okay. You know what? I'm going to give the edge in striking to that guy.
Yeah. It's almost becoming like everybody training at Greg Jackson. It's almost becoming what that was.
Yeah. I mean, it's not the gym, it's the coach.
Yeah.
And it's not I stay in one area and fight out of that. It's I go wherever I need to go to and train with whoever I need to train with in order to beat whoever I need to beat. And he beat up Burns. He beat him up bad. Beautiful moment after the fight because they were friends. They came from the same gym originally. They were at the weddings, and I mean there was the kids had played together. So there was this beautiful moment where they were talking. We didn't see his thing, and they were talking about it. Burns was horribly shaken up after the loss.
Yeah.
Just sobbing in the corner. And
so much so that you could hear them as they were kind of just letting audio play, and the commentators were talking. Usman was walking around the ring, and he came up to the camera and started talking, and you could hear Burns, start to cry, and it really was. They embraced each other. I thought what Usman said was beautiful after the fact of the second we're in that cage, there's no friends, there's no anything. He's there for that title, and Burns was coming for that title, and
Burns said it himself. He knows this is they're friends, but I'm coming in here, so there's no friends in here. And when it was over, it was over. And I'm pretty sure their relationship's going to still be there once they're done. But man, what a fight! And I got to give it to Usman now. Who's next?
That was.
He calls out Masvidal for because I guess him and Masvidal are having a Twitter war or something like that, or talking.
Masvidal's been talking a bunch. Masvidal, when he lost to him, it was mainly due to Masvidal kind of pushing it off on, I took the fight on short notice. Well, I get that. You still lost. It's still hard to be like, oh yeah, I have an excuse. But with that being said, he's kind of cleared out the division, and
the only one has he fought Leon Edwards? Did he fight him? No. Okay.
But Edwards has been off for so long. If I was Edwards, I wouldn't want to go straight in after a long layoff and move in. There is talks that Edwards and Covington might fight. Winner of that would go up against. I'm very adamant that I don't want to see Covington get. I mean, I do, but I don't want to see that fight again. Usman beat him definitively the first time. He broke his face, despite what the worst trash talker in MMA history says. Covington is... He's not a good troll. That's the problem I have with Covington. Is if you're going to be a troll, at least be good at it, but you're a horrible troll.
I want to see what he's going to do post-gimmick.
Yeah.
Because the gimmick's over now, so are you going to still come out with it? Are you still going to come out... I mean, because nobody's wearing the red hat anymore. You can still come out to the Kurt Angle because people still are going to chant that you suck. But regardless, I mean, this really does. I mean, this is Usman's world. Come and take it from him.
Yeah.
Now, looking ahead, they did have right after the fight. They did have the promo for the next pay-per-view.
Yeah. So looking down the road. The next pay-per-view is going to be Israel Adesanya versus Jan Blachowicz for the light heavyweight title.
So Izzy will be moving up in weight up to 205.
We are both conflicted on this because we have two different ways of going about it. You know, we'll get into that whenever we do the prediction video. We'll get more in depth with that. But I'm going to tell you guys right now, the next wave of fights coming through are super exciting. I'm looking at it right now. The next fight card you're going to be able to see is headlined by Curtis Blades and Derek Lewis.
Oh boy, heavyweight knockout fight. Yes.
Unbelievably.
Oh, there we go.
And then after that, you'll have Rosenstruck versus Cyril Gahn, who we just got introduced to who Cyril Gahn is.
Yeah.
Crazy good. And then you do have, Adesanya versus Blachowicz. Then we have a fight night where the main event was supposed to be really good, but due to COVID, we lost that main event. But then we got, Stipe versus Francis Ngannou right after that. Just looking ahead, what makes the next pay-per-view so great is that we get to see Amanda Nunes versus, Megan Anderson, Peter Yan versus Aljamain Sterling.
So we finally get that one.
And, the big fight that's going on underneath Stipe and Francis is Alexander Volkanovski versus Brian Ortega. So a lot of titles could be changing hands.
Oh, man, this is going to be an exciting 2021.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
This is definitely... This is, right now, we're in the thick, starting with this pay-per-view, we're in the thick of... Actually, even before that, because last month was a great pay-per-view, and the fight nights have been great. But this pay-per-view kicks off a great list of fights all the way until the end of March. So I'm excited. I'm super pumped. And
yeah, I'm excited for them too. Let's hope they don't break COVID violations. Let's hope everybody stays healthy and these cards stay the way they are.
Yeah.
I hate that when they have to change because of COVID. But other than that, man, here we go. All right.
So until next time, we're signing off, and we'll see you guys then.
Take care. Peace.